Hey, this is Larry Osborne here with another daily dose. Good to be with you today. As we keep going through Jesus stories, I want to take a look at one of the parables that Jesus taught, and it was about a guy who is known as a rich fool. Once in a while, people look at this passage and they say the problem for this man was his wealth. The problem was the bigger barns that we're going to see that he built. But that's really not the problem. The problem is not that he was rich. The problem is that he was a fool. And the problem is not that he built a bigger barn, it's that he built things for himself while he completely ignored the spiritual realm. Let's take a look at what Jesus said. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me," asking Jesus to solve a financial problem, which there's nothing wrong with that, but Jesus chose this as an opportunity to teach about true spiritual priorities. He replied, "Hey man, who appointed me judge or arbitrator between the two of you?" And then he said, "You watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. And here's why. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions," which is exactly the lie of greed. If only I could have a little bit more, I'd be happy. If only I would get a raise. If only I get a promotion. If only I could get out of this apartment into a home. If only I could get a bigger home. If only I could have a better car. If only I could have more cars. And the list goes on. And the idea behind greed is always this. Happiness is found in a little more. And life is a zero-sum game. I have to take from you. I have to hold to myself because that's where happiness is found. And so in that context, Jesus tells this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. And he thought to himself, what am I going to do? I don't have any place to store my crops. Things have gone so well. So then he said, this is what I'll do. I'm going to tear down my barns and I'm going to build even bigger barns. And there I'm going to store all my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you or I have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. And then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? And Jesus says, this is how it will be with those who store up things for themselves, but are not rich towards God. As I said earlier, the problem wasn't a bigger barn. The problem wasn't a great year. The problem wasn't storing up surplus. The problem was this man stored up things for himself, but he was in poverty towards God. And therein lies the problem with the successes and the wealth that God sometimes brings our way. We don't have any reason why we need to somehow feel guilty about being blessed. But we have every reason to make sure that the God-sized hole in our heart isn't filled with the artificial things of this world. A few little signs that I look for in my life when I'm saying, how are those blessings affecting me? Am I building and enjoying a better barn and rich towards God? Or am I sliding towards greed and just storing up for myself? Here's 3 simple questions. One of them is, am I finding that my self-esteem is tied to my possessions? I feel better about myself the more stuff I have. The second one is this. Is my security tied to my net worth? Because if my security is tied to my net worth and everything goes sideways, I've lost it all. And the fact is, at the end of the day, things are here and then they're gone. Even if I live out the life, I've never seen a U-Haul follow in a hearse. It just doesn't happen. My security can't be found there. I can enjoy the goodness of God's blessings, but I can't find security. I can't find self-worth. And then finally, I always like to ask myself, has my stuff somehow become my stuff rather than his stuff on loan? Luke chapter 12, the parable of a rich fool. His problem wasn't being rich. His problem was being poor towards the kingdom of heaven. Is your stuff his stuff or your stuff? Something to think about.